Imagine you're asleep in a royal palace, dreaming of vodka and wigs, when suddenly your wife steals your entire empire. Before breakfast. That's not the plot of some Netflix political drama. That's exactly what happened in 1762 Russia, when one woman, Catherine the Great, pulled off one of the smoothest and sneakiest coups in world history. No wars, no long sieges. Just a candlelit whisper, a few loyal soldiers, and boom, the Tsar is out, and the Empress is in. And the best part? She wasn't even Russian. This is the story of how a German teenager married into Russian royalty, waited patiently for her moment, and when her husband made one too many dumb decisions, she pounced like a cat in an ermine robe. By the end of one wild summer night, she didn't just grab power, she rebranded an entire empire. So how did Catherine go from outsider to empress? Who helped her? And what happened to the not-so-lucky Tsar Peter III? Welcome to Infinitia Verity, where today we light the candles, polish the crown, and break down Catherine the Great's secret coup, the midnight power grab that changed Russian history forever. All right, let's rewind. It's the mid-1700s, and Russia is this enormous, icy empire run by people in big hats and even bigger egos. The throne is currently held by Empress Elizabeth, daughter of Peter the Great. She's glamorous, dramatic, and rules with a flair for luxury and wigs the size of horses. But Elizabeth is getting old, and instead of passing the crown to someone sensible, she picks her nephew Peter. Now, Peter is, let's just say, not great. He's German, awkward, obsessed with toy soldiers, and totally in love with Frederick the Great of Prussia, Russia's literal enemy in the 7 Years' War. Imagine being in a gang war and siding with the rival boss just because you think he's cool. Anyway, Peter is engaged to a fellow German princess named Sophie of Anhalt-Zerbst, who moves to Russia, converts to Orthodoxy, changes her name to Catherine, and begins quietly taking notes like, "Dear diary, my husband's an idiot, but I've got plans." While Peter spends his days playing dress-up as a Prussian officer and offending the Russian Orthodox Church, Catherine is reading Voltaire, studying Russian politics, and charming everyone from nobles to guards to philosophers. Basically, Peter, let's give Prussia everything and annoy everyone in the process. Catherine, cool. I'll just prepare to take over your entire empire while you're busy pretending to be Frederick. The Russian elite starts getting nervous. Nobles hate Peter. The church hates Peter. The army really hates Peter. And while Peter thinks everything's fine, Catherine is building a quiet alliance. Not with armies or assassins yet, but with ideas, allies, and candles. Things are about to get very imperial. It's early 1762, and after years of waiting, Peter III finally seizes the Russian throne. Now, you'd expect him to start consolidating power, maybe throw a few banquets, kiss a baby or two. But instead, he immediately sets out to offend literally everyone in Russia. First, Peter pulls the single most confusing diplomatic stunt of the 18th century. He withdraws from the 7 Years' War despite Russia being on the verge of victory and sides with Prussia, the enemy they'd just spent years fighting. Why? Because Peter was obsessed with Frederick the Great, obsessed like fanboy level. He even started dressing like him and modelling his reign on Prussian ideals. Russian generals were furious. Soldiers felt betrayed. Imagine fighting in brutal winters for years, only to be told, "Surprise, we like them now." Then came the reforms nobody asked for. He forced Russian soldiers to wear tight, uncomfortable Prussian uniforms, making them look like second-rate cosplayers. He seized church lands, offending the powerful Orthodox clergy. He mocked Russian customs, drank excessively, and humiliated the nobility. Meanwhile, his wife Catherine watched silently, cataloguing every mistake like a very polite viper. Catherine, though born in Prussia herself, had mastered Russian politics. She converted to orthodoxy. She read the mood of the court. She even made public appearances that subtly cast her as the true Russian. And behind the scenes, she was forming a secret web of alliances, the Orlov brothers, especially Grigory Orlov, her lover, and a powerful military figure, members of the Imperial Guard, including units loyal to her son, Paul, key nobles and statesmen who were disgusted by Peter's incompetence. One whispered conversation at a ball, one letter slipped under a door, one clandestine meeting in a palace corridor. Piece by piece, Catherine built her coup like a chessboard, and the final straw came when Peter allegedly planned to divorce Catherine, send her to a convent, and marry his mistress. And that's when everything changed. It's early morning in St. Petersburg. The air smells like bread, horses, and political disaster. Peter III is 186 days into his reign and has no idea his empress wife is about to end it. He's off relaxing at Oranienbaum Palace, basically the 18th century version of chilling at your vacation house while your wife steals your job. Meanwhile, Catherine is ready to strike. The spark. At around 5 a.m. she's quietly woken up by Alexei Orlov, one of her loyal co-conspirators. He brings urgent news. Peter may be about to act first. Some say he discovered the coup plot. Others believe Catherine simply didn't want to wait another day. So she acts. Still in her nightgown, Catherine rushes to Izmailovsky Regiment barracks, where she's met by cheering soldiers. The same soldiers Peter had annoyed with Prussian drills and stiff uniforms now kneel before her and swear allegiance. She throws on a military uniform, mounts a horse barely having time to saddle up properly, and rides through the streets with generals by her side. It's dramatic. It's cinematic. It's almost like Hamilton meets Game of Thrones, except the stakes are real and the candles are lit. By midday, the Preobrazhensky Regiment joins her. The Semyonovsky Regiment pledges loyalty. Even the church blesses her takeover. Every power block Peter had angered military, clergy, nobility now rallied behind Catherine. Peter's response: Peter is 30 miles away, hungover and unaware. When he finally gets word, it's too late. His letters to St. Petersburg go unanswered. His allies vanish. His guards melt away. He tries to flee. He even writes a letter begging Catherine for mercy, offering to abdicate if she spares his life. She accepts the offer, not out of pity but out of political genius. For now, Catherine wants legitimacy, not bloodshed. On July 10th, Peter formally abdicates the throne. He signs the paper. Just like that, Russia has a new ruler, Empress Catherine II. Peter is quietly relocated to Ropsha Estate under guard. 6 days later, he's dead. Official cause: hemorrhoidal colic. Sure, Jan. Unofficially, probably murdered, most likely by guards acting independently, or not so independently, but Catherine keeps her hands clean. No trial, no spectacle, just one emperor down, one empress up. Okay, so Catherine now wears the crown. She's empress of all the Russias. But her throne isn't exactly nailed down just yet because, remember, she didn't get here through birthright, but through a midnight mutiny, and the Russian court is basically mean girls in powdered wigs. Step 1, control the narrative. Catherine gets to work writing her version of events. In her memoirs, she paints Peter III as a bumbling idiot, a man obsessed with toy soldiers and Prussia who played with puppets and talked to paintings. Whether true or not, public opinion turns against Peter fast. Catherine, on the other hand, is suddenly seen as the mother of the nation, the enlightened autocrat. She also orders coins minted with her face, statues built in her name, and all official documents rewritten to say Catherine II, by the grace of God, Empress and autocrat. Step 2. Silence the critics. Peter's suspicious death, never investigated. His loyalists, disbanded. Those who whisper about the coup, conveniently reassigned or disappear. Even her own son Paul is sidelined. Catherine doesn't trust him with power. Smart move. When people ask, wait, wasn't Paul the heir? Catherine basically goes, yes, and I'm taking excellent care of him. Now, who wants reforms? Step 3, be useful. Catherine knew she had to prove she was more than just a usurper. So she rolled up her sleeves and started ruling for real. She corresponded with Voltaire and Diderot, embracing Enlightenment ideas. She started building schools, libraries, and even vaccination programs. She expanded the empire southward, adding Crimea, parts of Poland, and chunks of the Black Sea coast, all while keeping a delicate balance between noble support and peasant loyalty. Basically, she turned damage control into a masterclass in imperial branding. What about the lovers? Yes, Catherine had lovers, a lot of them, but here's the shocker. They didn't control her, she controlled them. Each relationship was more like a royal internship than a scandal. Young, handsome men would arrive, stay in her favor for a few months or years, and then be dismissed with a palace and pension. Final move: rule for the long haul. Catherine didn't just survive the coup fallout. She ruled for 34 years. That's longer than any female leader in Russian history. And she died on the throne, still in charge, still respected, still rewriting the legacy of a woman who took an empire by candlelight. When the candle smoke cleared and Peter III was buried, quietly with no royal fanfare, Russia had a new boss, and she meant business. Catherine didn't just hold on to power, she reshaped the empire. Under her, Russia went from clunky medieval monarchy to Enlightenment-tinged powerhouse. She expanded its territory by over 200,000 square miles, modernized its administration, and turned St. Petersburg into a glittering capital of art, science, and scandal. But let's not pretend it was all silk gowns and philosophy. Serfdom deepened, rebellions broke out, and critics whispered about the coup for decades. Still, Catherine's reign became a blueprint for strong female rule, clever, calculated, and completely unapologetic. By the time she died in 1796, she was no longer the German girl who stole the crown. She was Catherine the Great, Empress, reformer, icon. And it all started with a secret coup, a few well-placed allies, and one very unfortunate husband who underestimated her. So what do you get when you mix political genius, Enlightenment charm, and one really bad marriage? You get Catherine the Great, a woman who didn't wait for history to give her power. She took it by candlelight in one of the most underrated coups in history. Peter wanted to play king, Catherine decided to be one, and she didn't just sit on the throne, she rewrote the rules of who gets to sit there in the first place. Don't forget to subscribe to Infinitia Verity, where history doesn't whisper, it shouts, fights, and occasionally poisons its husband.